In Abuja, as the lady just said. It's the first year of the Nigeria Air Force Center. I was just saying that Honorable Ogane Ego is our guest this morning. So let me say to you formally, good morning, Honorable.
Thank you. I'm honored to be with you once more.
Thank you very much. It's great to have you again. Well, as I was just saying, there's this effort that has been announced that every state of the Federation is going to be receiving truckloads of rice, 20 trucks per state. And this is by way of trying to ameliorate, at least doing something to contribute to the situation. Now, the idea is that when this rice lands, governors have been asked to ensure that it gets to the most vulnerable. So this is not really, when you look at it, if you interpret it properly, it's not a matter of sending 20 truckloads of rice to each state like that. It's specifically for the most vulnerable in society. Because I imagine one might look at it from the point of view, one could look at it and say, so what's 20 truckloads of rice going to do? Well, it's not for all and sundry. It isn't for, it's for the most vulnerable. Because I was hearing that, Honorable Ego, I was hearing that things are so tight, people who were able to buy rice, talking about the most vulnerable before, even as rice got more and more expensive, it got as expensive as for some people not to be able to afford it anymore, and then replaced with, of all things, maize. And I couldn't believe it when I heard that. Well, I can't really afford rice anymore. It's out of reach. So the thing to do now is that if you could just be good to me and loan me the amount I'm requesting, I'll stock up on maize. I don't know if you've heard that. How do you replace rice with maize? People are saying, well, we got to do what we got to do. Honorable Ego, how does that grab you?
Well, on this issue of the federal government sending 740 trucks, 740 trucks to the 36 states and FCT. Each of the trucks have 1,200 bags. That is a lot of rice. Each of the 1,200 bags. So it's a lot. But the most significant thing about it is not just the rice going to the state and the federal government directing the governors to give it to the most vulnerable people. The most significant thing about it is that there is somebody there who cares, who understands what everybody is going through, and is not just sitting down folding his hand. And that is the president. If the president does not care, if the president does not understand what the people are going through, they are suffering, the president will not say, let's send 740 trucks of rice at 1,200 bags each to the states to give out free to the most vulnerable. That free to the most vulnerable is the most important thing. It shows that, as some people think, that, oh, the president does not care, he's just in the Aso Rock. No. What we have seen now is that the president cares. And to go further, for those who say, oh, there's hunger in the land, of course I agree with them, there's hunger in the land. I'm feeling it, so I know there's hunger in the land. But Mr. President, about a week ago, said they were removing import duty and taxes on imported foods, including rice. So that is a major leap of the president's desire to ensure that the ordinary man, the common man, does not suffocate under the president's circumstances. Now, let's look at it. It's not the president that caused this hunger. It's not. This hunger was caused mainly by bandits who made it impossible for farmers to go to their farm. Herders who use their animals to eat up crops and who prevent people from harvesting what they have sown. Then again, there's climate change that have brought flooding in a lot of areas where tomatoes, peppers, and others, rice are planted. So all this conspired to make food shortage, a food shortage that we are suffering right now in the country. But we must know that, like I said, this is not caused by the president. these are natural things, you know. Since the president came in, he's been fighting these bandits, and in the Northeast, especially, they will tell you that it's a big relief. They can go to bush now and do whatever they want to do. But in the Northwest, it's still a big challenge. And I know that the president is making effort about it. If all this problem happened in the presence of this president, then we can begin to accuse him. Oh, Mr. President, you brought hunger to the land. You have brought suffering. But no, they are natural causes. But that the president have sat down and decided that something must be done to bring down the food or the price of food, and also to bring down the suffering of the masses, especially the most vulnerable, you know. I think we must give the president kudos. And I'm convinced that this hunger is not going to be for a long time. I'm convinced that it will not be for a long time. Because look at what the president did recently. You know, about 1 trillion that is now going to be sent to the states to encourage farming. Because what has happened is everybody seems to have forgotten how to farm. Oh, food is coming from the north, so we don't need to farm. In those days, growing up in Lagos, those days, in the early 80s, when we go to Ife, drive from Shoe State, by the corner of the road, you will see baskets of tomato lining the road. Sometimes we buy a vehicle, we bring back to Lagos. But if you go there, you hardly see those markets, which shows that the people have kind of forgotten what they were doing, that is the farming. So I'm trying to say that almost everywhere in the country they can farm. And this is now falling on the table of the governors because the president has made provision. It is the duty of every governor to ensure that several acres of land are farmed, to breed stem, to breed seedlings, and teach the local farmers how to do it, so that price of seed will become low. Even in the Niger Delta area or in the areas that are swampy, you can farm. If you look at China, you look at India, you look at Thailand, they do swamp rice farming and they produce millions of tons to feed their people. So everywhere in the country can farm. The thing is that this hunger that has come and the shortage of food is not making us to know that we need to put our house in order. But again, I commend Mr. President for ensuring that money is provided for the states. We hope this money will not be diverted and this money will actually be used for the farming. I personally will suggest that the presidency should send inspectors to all states. Let's look at how many acres of land have you opened up? Have you provided machineries to clear the ground? What have you done to ensure that farming becomes farming becomes lucrative, and by helping those who need to farm, encouraging people in the villages to farm, especially in rural areas. If the governors sit right and do that, everybody will not be waiting for trailers to come from the Niger Republic to feed their people. There will be enough food locally, and then this question of there's hunger in the land will be away. Let's not forget that the president is just barely a year old in office. So now the thing have happened as he came to office and is presently tackling the problem.
Well, I appreciate when you say that it's not the president that caused this tough situation. But the president himself has said that the buck stops on his desk, and it certainly is policies of the federal government led by this president that have in part led to this situation. But it's a situation that we need to go through. It's a tough one. It has been proved that there's no escape route, there's no alternative than to bite the bullet and do what needs to be done, which is part of these tough policies that are excruciating now on the part of the president. After all, I guess part of the problem is that we depend almost totally on oil. And it has been said that going forward, one of the things we're going to have to look at is How can we come out from under that yoke? But the president leads the federal government. His policies are the policies that are being implemented. And whereas the ordinary man who can't really go deep into it will just look at who heads up this team. Oh, this is the person that gave the order that we were to stop these draining situations. You know, to the ordinary person, we were managing before. Even though we were managing, we would arrive at a situation we were told where there could be a total collapse. We could head for hyperinflation. This is all part of the things that they are managing now. So Mr. President himself has said, don't feel sorry for me. I do feel your pain. I will do everything in my power. I won't take a break. I won't take a breather. But it is what it is. I guess the problem is that I guess it's hard to communicate to people when they are hungry. It's like taking a lesson or being reasoned when you are hungry, when hunger is biting, and you remember how without due understanding of the consequences, things seemed to be better before. But that better was going to lead to ruination. But the problem, I think, the issue is, how do we come out of this situation where we have this near total dependence on oil? As soon as we can do that, as soon as we can increase employment, and you've mentioned some of those things in relation to food production, banditry and all, not making it all profitable, I guess that's what we need to begin to look at. And let me just end with this, you might like to comment on. The issue of, in these tough times, it needs, the definition of the president's gesture needs to be taken by the letter. That is to say, this rice is not to then begin to go through the Nigerian thing of some people, in spite of it, apart from, I mean, never mind who it was intended for. Now you find people using their own quote-unquote long legs and beginning to divert this to other areas. I guess that's also going to be part of the challenge, because again, it's going to be hard. Yeah. People who consider themselves middle class, we need to eat too. This rice is not for them. It's for the most vulnerable, the most absolutely vulnerable. How do we keep it there? How do we keep it at that level? It's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. It's for those who couldn't manage otherwise.
Okay, Yori, what you said is correct, you know. The president have said the buck stopped on his table. And that's why I admire the president. I also want governors to also see that in their state, the buck is on their table. It's important. If governors say the buck is on their table, then the governors will now also make effort to support in the food production, to support what the president is doing. But the governors, they get money from the federation account, they have internally generated revenue. Every governor must also engage in agriculture, get these people to engage in agriculture. In fact, I was speaking at the Rice Television, and I was saying that the newfound fund height of the local government chairmen who are now receiving money directly from the federation account, it's not for them to squander the money and jump up and down to say, hey, now governors cannot touch our money. But the local government, 774 local government, they are closest to the people, especially local government that are not in urban center. They must also engage in agriculture. Why do I say that? All over the world, even America, you know, France, Britain, all of them, they subsidize agriculture. It is only in Nigeria we are seeing that government does not subsidize agriculture. Nobody bothers. But abroad, the bureaus, they support agriculture. They put money to put seeds, do a lot of things. The governors and the local government chairmen need to realize this and to do the same. If we do it, there will be abundant food. We will even have food surplus for export. You can imagine Ghana earned $36 million from export of ordinary yam. Ordinary yam. We also need to do that. The governments need to teach the people how to process this yam to export it. There are some countries that export just bananas. And for the bananas, they make millions of dollars. There's no reason why we cannot do it. States can look at their land. If your land is good for banana or plantain, of course, look for experts to teach the farmers how to do it, invest in it, and sell for export. So at the end of the day, we don't only rely on petrol as the only product. Now, there is a problem on ground, and I'm happy that the president have realized that there's hunger in the land. And like you said, he has accepted the bulk ends on the table. And his duty is about it. It is now the duty of the state government and the local government to reciprocate what he's doing.
Indeed.
And then,
Indeed.
of course, for us not to have a single product, like oil, we need to go into manufacturing. And the easiest people to look for is not foreign investors. Because as we have seen, when foreign investors come, with few things, they go out. Guinness have gone out. These people make part, they have gone out. But we have traders, Nigerian traders, go to the big markets. These traders, these Igbo boys who trade, they have agreement with the manufacturer. If they are encouraged, you know, if federal government encourages them, they can talk to the manufacturer, they set up plants here, and then there will be SMS, you know, SME, small manufacturing everywhere. And those things will grow. That's how China started. That's how South Korea started. But if we begin to wait for the big companies, big corporations abroad to come, I'm afraid it is going to be very difficult. So we need to encourage our traders to say, look, don't only trade, you can manufacture. And most of these traders have accumulated wealth. They have a lot of money, you know. But if the atmosphere is good and they are well encouraged, I can tell you for free that the traders can start that process, you know,
okay, let me
manufacturing.
I beg your pardon. So sorry. I know there's a time lag between your hearing me when I speak. Right. You know, but let me bring on Mr. George. Okay. Good morning, Mr. George, calling in from Lagos.
Good morning, Uncle Yari.
Thank you for calling.
Good morning to the guest.
Good morning.
Uncle Yari, the initiative is a good one to send, for the president to send a right to the people. But the problem has always been, does it get there? Does it get to the people?
This is the problem.
Don't forget.
This is the problem.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. So don't forget that only a few months ago, there was a debate when the president gave allocated grains to all the National Assembly members to go and give their people. They didn't, people did not see it. And after debating it and making noise for about 2 or 3 weeks, the whole case is forgotten. Will this one not go the same way? It's one thing to send it, but will it get to the people? This is always the question. Yes. I was very happy when I got news this morning that the president has come up with an initiative to use land in military barracks, in military zones for farming. And that is to say, the banditry and insecurity that is affecting farmers will not affect whatever is planted there. That's a very good initiative. I think that one should be more developed than sending this one that will not get to the people.
Yeah.
I don't have any confidence that the people that it is designed for to get there. There was, don't forget, there was this provision of commodity boards in Mr. President's manifesto.
Yeah.
If there were commodity boards now, you could use that channel to give it and start a deal with the major traders in the market, and then, okay, in one way or another, it can reach the people. But giving it to governors, I'm sorry, I don't have that confidence that it will get there.
Okay, Mr. George, thank you very much for calling in. Maybe yes.
Can I comment briefly?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Yeah. Mr. George has spoken very well. I don't have too much confidence in the governors also, and the local government chairman. But what I'm saying is that we need to inculcate into the governors that the issue of food is also their problem. Until that is done, the right thing will not be done. It will not be fair for everybody to feel that because the president, the buck ends on the president's table, the governors should just leave the whole exercise to Mr. President. The governors need to sit upright. They need to know that they have a duty to also feed their people, to support their people, to ensure that bandits or headers do not eat the crops of farmers, to ensure that foods come from there and there's prosperity in terms of food on the table of people in their state. The local government are also supposed to do that.
Yeah. One moment, Honorable. I beg your pardon, Honorable, for interrupting you. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Mazi Okorafor has called in. Good morning, Mazi.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir. Good morning, again.
Yeah.
This issue of our local government issue. The local government there, we are seeing. We underrate that top tier. You see, this food we are talking. Everybody, all Nigeria, wherever you go, when you go to government or central and state, you're talking about food. If we have this contact, and it's the job of the local government authority, these contact will help us. What do? They take care of all those bush areas. Because when they establish a civil defense, I was thinking a civil defense would say, but data and civil and now community police. Now, we are in a country that everybody, we are good in policy making, but implementation is a major issue. Now, ask me, you have seen what is happening now in River State. They have drugs, they have confusion, everybody. Now, those drugs are meant for the local government. Who are the people that are doing it? Is it not this health personnel that will go around and use this vaccine and give to small children and all these HBVS vaccines? But local government, they are not working. Now tell me, states are now rushing to conduct elections. Now tell me, why are they rushing? Because they need money. What were they doing for past years? Some of them have completed second tenure. They were doing interim transition election. Look, as long as the third tier is concerned, which is the local government, basic education is the foundation of anything education.
Mazi, are we on the same page? We're talking about these trucks of rice going out to the most vulnerable in each state of the Federation as an initiative by Mr. President to ameliorate the hunger problem.
The initiative is, when you talk, it's the local government that will take care of it.
Okay.
Not the state. I agree that that is coming to the state. But the local government knows who is from poor home, who is the environment where you have poor people. It is the third tier. But when the third tier is not functioning, how will you do? Is it not confusion? But the question is this. The better for us is this. If Nigerian governors will come to compromise to the situation where they want to conduct this election for their state, they make sure that the proper people are being placed in local government, like the trust that the presidency has just said. It will go around and meet the rightful people. When the rightful people have it, they will pray for the government, they will pray for all Nigerians. But when they don't come, you bypass them, what will you do? Exactly. Many of them don't even have the strength of going to serve. Check very well. When they start saying this, you hear that some people are there because in the rush.
All right. Well,
if the government will try and go to make sure the local government people take care of this distribution to meet the rightful people, it will help us. Let them have a roster. Let them have a roster in each community. How and who collected it, and the address and the phone number. So for the time that government will try and throw any of those numbers, random sampling, to know which one was true or wrong.
All right. Thank you very much.
Noise is coming now.
Okay, welcome back, and we still have with us Honorable Ogene Ego, former member of the House of Representatives and the ECOWAS Parliament. And we're looking at the gesture of the federal government sending rice, truckloads of rice, 20 each, 740 total, to all the states of the country, with the idea that it is specifically for the most vulnerable in the society. We've been speaking about this, and the specter of corruption has come up. That, look, we just hope, and that's what Nigerians always do. We just hope, sometimes hoping against hope, that the rice will go to those intended and not to those who don't need it. Yeah, everybody needs a freebie, but these are desperate times. And for those that are really desperate, but vulnerable was the word that government used, for those that are really desperate, I spoke about, I just don't understand how you replace rice with maize, for instance. And even that isn't too far behind the price of rice. And you don't really know in this country, since this specter of corruption has been raised, you don't know what exactly to expect from this country. You might have seen, Honorable Ego, a trending video taken from the Senate, taking a vote on whether the Committee on Defense was, whether it would get the approval for a most stringent look to now be taken at the operations of the military, asking for receipts. It was it was an idea that was raised by Senator Oshiomhole. And much to the surprise of even the Senate President himself, when he submitted it to a voice vote, those for this idea, scanty, very, very quiet eye, those against the idea, and there was a very loud nay. The Senate President was dazed. In fact, he was so dazed that he had to say, maybe you guys don't understand. Let me read it again. And what I'm saying is that, shall we enable the committee to put in place the most stringent accounting principles so that everything is accounted for, what they did with the money for the military, we need to know. So let me put the question again. Are you authorizing us to do that? And the vote came back the second time. Nay. The man, dazed, had to concede that the nays have it. So you don't really, it's not always that you understand our countrymen. And I brought that story up since there's this apprehension now about this rice. Everybody needs rice, but this one is specifically not for everybody, but for the most vulnerable. I hope people have also hoped when they called it that this thing will not be frustrated. The whole idea behind it will not be frustrated, and this thing will go where it's not supposed to go. So I just thought we should bring that up again. I've heard you when you said the governors should indeed take charge. But corruption is still in there. Might the president's idea not be frustrated by those that are greedy among us?
Yeah. You know, Yori, when Mr. Okorafor called in, I bought one idea he brought in, that the local government are the closest government to the grassroots. They will know who are the most vulnerable. The governors are in the state capital. I think I buy the idea that the state governors should just apportion this rice to the local governments, and then let the local government go and divide it ward by ward, where they can see the councillors who are in charge, the traditional ruler of the area. They will know who the most vulnerable people are, because we need in this country every arm of government, every level of government, from the presidency to the state to especially local government. They also need to take responsibility. They should know that the first major article of the Constitution is the welfare and security of the people. So the local government and the state, they should realize the welfare of the people includes food. It's one of the most important aspects of the people's welfare. So indeed, let this bulk go to the local government. I'm happy that the local government can now receive their money directly. And because of this, quality people will now begin to run to become local government chairman or councillors. Okay. Because they know they will not be subjected to the whims of the House of Assembly or the governor. So I think we need to do that. And Nigerians need to change their mentality about accounting for what belongs to government. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's going forward. Yeah. And I hear what you're saying. But again, here I was just speaking, editorializing a bit earlier about, you know, the role of corruption in the success or failure of this initiative. And I again, referring to social media, it just comes up. I did see something coming out of Osun State, and the Oni of Ife had sent his chiefs, you know, Iyolojas and Babalojas, to go to the market and talk to market men and market women to behave themselves in the market. Everybody is looking for a fast buck. They know, people know that things, if people were taking undue advantage and were making prices impossible. And so they had said that without prejudice to, you know, everybody coming to the market to make a gain, that they are not to hear, the authorities at the local council, at the market levels, are not to hear of these ridiculous prices anymore, the prices of tomatoes, the prices of pepper that had come down. I heard the chiefs and the Iyolojas and the Babalajes admonishing the market women that it is an instruction from the palace. I don't want to hear those ridiculous prices, and if anybody tries it, they will please have to excuse us in Ile-Ife and go elsewhere and go and do those kind of things. So it's like the principal Oba was saying there that we know what's going on, and we know that if you leave people to their own devices, they will take undue advantage and try to sell 10 atarodos, for instance, for 100 naira. So he was saying, yes, none of that. Maybe traditional rulers could also get in on the act and try and sanitize, to help us sanitize what has, quite frankly, become a crazy environment. I think I was being told that there's someone on the line. Let me just double check that. Oh, Ada in Jos. Good morning, Ada.
Ada in Jos, so you're coming for long.
Go ahead, Ada.
Good morning, Yori and your guest.
Good morning.
I think this idea of sending 20 trucks of drives or whatever to each state, including FCC, I don't think we have tried it and it didn't work. Even those points of the poor he's referring to, go and check it out. Most of them have nice families from 8 and above. What kind of food are you going to share that we can sustain them? We should go beyond that, you know. What I'm trying to say here, we need the agricultural revolution. That's what we need now. For the paramount traditional rulers, the governors and the rest of them, they put their heads together and also encourage farming, and especially mechanized farming, you know. And then, again, the federal government, they should do something about this.
You're very right, Ada. In the long term, in the medium to long term, you're very right. Yeah. But this was meant as a palliative for the most vulnerable in society.
Honestly, you are not vulnerable. It has got to a point that everybody, even me that is talking to you now, I'm vulnerable. I can't buy, yam is no longer in our menu. I went to buy yam. They told me 1 kilo of yam was 30,500. I said, oh, yeah, man. Let's forget about yam for now. You know what I'm talking about? It's the thing that you people are really underestimating how the hardship is. The hardship has gone to the point that 80% of Nigerians are now falling into that vulnerable group, except maybe you there, you know?
Yeah, but Ada, what do you think is the role of the market women and the market men that I was just narrating the story of the Oni of Ife sending out his chiefs and saying none of that nonsense? They must have found out that, look, I know things are expensive, but it looks like these market cartels are cashing in on the situation, and it was said it was not to happen anymore.
Let me take you off from what you said there. I'm not holding brief for them. The way they are going about it is wrong. The market women, they also have to feed. I mean, somebody is selling that is the pepper you're talking about. Is the person going to use pepper to go and pay school fees for his child? It's a vicious circle. Everything revolves on fuel, the cost of fuel. Let's call it a spade. Cost of fuel and diesel, and the extortion that goes on the road to bring these things. That is what they should focus on. Not chasing the women in the market. What do you want them to do? How will they feed their own families? You know, because they planted the pepper in their backyard. Then you now come and say they should sell it 1 naira. How are they going to buy rice? That is the cheapest one is now 2,000 plus. You understand now? That is the problem.
Okay.
The whole thing is on this fuel thing. Until fuel comes down, diesel comes down. We're not going to make any headway. If you like, this,
can I call me?
Yes.
What are they going to get?
Ada, thank you for calling.
Can I call me, Yori?
Yeah. Honorable Edo,
can I call me briefly?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think I sympathize with what Ada have said. But let's look at it like this. There is a place I buy fish in Abuja here. I went there to buy fish recently, and the house man who served for me, the price is double. I said, why? Why is it double? I bought just 5 weeks ago. This was the price. You know what they told me? They said now before they enter the water to keep fish, they pay money to the bandits. When you bring your cash, the bandits will charge you money again before you come to sell it. It's the same thing with the issue of tomatoes, the issue of pepper, the issue of rice. You go to your farm, you want to harvest, these bandits are there with herdsmen who would insist that you must pay them first. In most cases, the farmers, they have their farm, the herdsmen will eat them. So these goods get to the market women and market men at very high price.
Okay.
So what they are doing is just selling at the price they bought. It's difficult to put the blame on them. They can't reduce that because most of them, they don't have heavy savings. That goes back
to what Ada was saying.
What we need to do,
what we need to do,
sorry, that is it. What we need to do is what Teokrafo said, let's get the traditional rulers with the local government chairman, the state governors, you know, combined with the federal government, they making sure that farming implements and equipment get to the farmers.
Yeah.
To ensure that they farm. Then on the vulnerability, we get the traditional ruler and co to distribute 1,200 bags of rice. It's not a small number of rice. On several 40 trucks bringing that. Each truck has 1,200. Now, that one, we must get it to the people. If it ends up at the state governor's office, top politicians will just squander it. But if it goes to the local government, and the local government is instructed to divide it ward by ward so that traditional rulers also are there to supervise it with the councillors, then it can get down. You know, that is the only way.
Because I think
what the president has done on the long term by what the president did on the long term by providing about ₦1 trillion to the governors, which I think should also go to the local government for them to work on farms, to encourage the farmers, to provide them with implement. A lot of people cannot farm because they don't have seeds. Some cassava stem, they don't have it, so they cannot farm. And then also find a way to fight these bandits, these herders.
Right. Now we're talking about
that they are providing, the federal government are providing a ministry for livestock to make sure that the herders don't disturb farmers. That is on the long term anyway.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was the point I was going to make. That we need to keep sight of the fact that this is not really meant to be anything like a permanent fixture. It's an intervention. That's why the caveat comes that for the most vulnerable in society. In other words, the fact that the news is out there that there are 20 trucks, 1,200 bags each one, that is arriving the state capital, many people should just, take their mind away from it. They are not the most vulnerable. They know, even though Ada was jocularly saying that, well, who isn't vulnerable? I understand what she means. But those that are desperately vulnerable is the focus, the focus and the objective of this gesture. If it is taken out of that context, and everybody saying, quoting democracy, say, am I not part of the citizenry? I am also vulnerable. We know. Then it's not going to get anywhere, as Ada was suggesting. What is 1,200 bags of rice going to do? Yeah, when you look at it, that it is a statewide affair, and you try to be as uniform as possible across the state, then there are going to be problems. But if you can find a mechanism to actually identify those that are desperately vulnerable, then I think President Tinubu's gesture would have been, fulfilled. It's not for everybody.
I agree with you.
It's going back to what the president said I feel your pain. And he must be feeling more for those that are the most vulnerable in society. Who, as Ada was rightly saying, who can eat as they used to eat? No, very, very few. Maybe only those in Abuja, if you get my meaning, can eat the way they were eating yesterday. Everybody now is doing something or the other. It might be don't put 2 meats, just put 1 meat. It might be don't put meat at all. I'll just put stew on it and let me go. Whatever, everybody is in a very tight bind. And so I think we cannot overemphasize the fact that this gesture is aimed at the most vulnerable in society, which will automatically cut out a lot of people. A lot of people should just go and sit down and not show up. Don't show up expecting anything. I don't know if we're going to have that discipline while the most vulnerable are getting their due, and then people who are middle class and all of that are also showing up, saying that, look, me too, things have changed in our house. Do you think we are going to have that discipline to make this whole thing work?
Well, Yori, you know, this is the first time we are having this problem of crisis over price of food. It has never been as bad as this. Exactly. You know, for a long time, everybody has forgotten about farming. Even states that used to farm yam, tomatoes before, they not farming because products were coming from the north across the border that were far cheaper. But now, everybody knows we have to go back to farming. And the state governments and local governments, the 774 local governments that President Tinubu fought for recently, that they should get their money directly, they must reciprocate. It must show the people that they earn it. They earn, you know, receiving this money on behalf of the people. They must help on farming. The Niger State Governor, my friend Bago, I praise him a lot because he bought over 1,000 tractors, different type of machine for clearing, tilling the ground and planting. And he said, these ones they are going to clear for farmers to move in. They will get people to also hire them to use the farming. With that kind of thing, I can assure you there will be a bumper harvest in Niger State. People should do that in every state. No state government can tell me there's no land to farm. Even our state, Lagos State, that is very urbanized. We still have Ikorodu, we still have Badagry, we still have some bush where we can farm. Okay. Everywhere governments must get into it. That's why I praise the government of Lagos State for the mortar farming, rice farming. So every state should do that, and all local government that are rural must make sure they engage in a farming, subsidized farming, and provide people for the
leave it there.
When they do that.
Yeah, Honorable, thank you very much. We're going to have to leave it there, but we just felt that it needs to be mentioned that a gesture like this went out. As Ada said, so what is that going to do? It depends on the context in which you're looking at it. In terms of the absolutely most vulnerable, if you want, abject poverty is in focus here. It will do quite a bit, but not for all time, and it wasn't intended for that. But I guess this is part of the president's attitude of I feel your pain. You can't imagine how much I feel your pain and how I'm not taking a break. You know, there will be light at the end of the tunnel, but it's a gesture from the government. It's up to us now to make the gesture of Mr. President and the federal government work the way it was intended. Let me just register my appreciation, Honorable Ogene Ego, former member of the House of Representatives and former member of the ECOWAS Parliament, for coming on the program this morning. Really appreciate you making time for us.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right then. So